So my number 10 is Belushi, the Showtime documentary.
Oh, I've got to watch that. Yeah.
About John Belushi's life. It's based around audio recordings made with interviews from his friends and associates of the time, right around the time of his death. Lots of interviews with Dan Aykroyd, Carrie Fisher, and a lot of his friends of the era. They detail, his childhood and mostly his rise to fame in Saturday Night Live, and then his, decline and things like that. It's very moving, and they do it it's very funny. They structure it around these recordings, but they also have animation and things like that. It kind of reminds me of the Kurt Cobain Montage of Heck documentary, where they, kind of integrate animation and things like that into it. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a big fan of Saturday Night Live and things like that.
Okay, so number 10 is Birds of Prey. It's not the best movie, but it's really damn fun.
It is.
And I think it has a good story. I think it certainly beats the shit out of Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet, but I feel like I'm going to like it way more than everybody else does.
You may think that now, but
okay.
When you see it, you're probably gonna be in the same boat as most people.
Okay.
I'm very disappointed with it. But Birds of Prey gives a little bit more personality to the Harley Quinn character in live action, and kind of goes to show that she's bad and she will always be bad, but something inside of her doesn't want to necessarily be all bad.
She has kind of a heart of gold, or like a impure gold.
Yeah, exactly.
18 karat gold. We're good.
Yeah, 18 karat rose gold.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun movie. Lots of beautiful people to watch doing their thing, and I'm grateful for that movie to come out because it's so much fun.
It is. I enjoyed it.
There's not a whole lot to say. Honestly, it's just a fun movie. It's not deep. Doesn't tell you anything particular about life. It's just a fun movie.
You know what? The world needs popcorn movies, maybe now more than ever. God damn it. Okay, my number 9 is Scare Package, which is an anthology film. It debuted on Shudder this year, and it has a cool little wraparound idea of somebody working in a video store, and they're having conversations, and the stories come up as a result of them talking about movies. It's a really well put together anthology film. Everybody in it is having a great time with it. It's clearly a bit of horror comedy, and it also has Chase Williamson from probably best known for
John Dies at the End. Yeah.
And he's rapidly becoming one of my favorite actors who turns up a lot in indie films.
I don't remember the name of the segment, but there's one segment in there that is so hilarious where the guy's melting or
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's one of the best anthology stories of the year in my book. My number 9 is Seberg, which is based on the actress from
Breathless.
Was she in Breathless? She was in Breathless, wasn't she? So it's Kristen Stewart. She's playing the actress from the movie Breathless, and her. It's about her relationship with one of the members of the Black Power movement and her involvement in politics and how it impacted her movie career and things like that. Stewart does a really good job. It's
It's
probably
amazing
one
how
of
Kristen Stewart can really. Kristen Stewart got so much shit for her acting during the Twilight days, but it's amazing how when you're actually engaged with your material, how much better you are. And man, she has
yeah.
really been tearing it up of late. I've got nothing but respect.
Her and Pattinson, they both kind of used that Twilight thing as a jumping off point to make much better movies.
Mhm.
And it's probably one of the. I mean, it was the reason I watched Breathless later this year, and I'm very glad I did. It's an amazing piece of work, and something we may want to review at some point.
My number 9 is a Prime original called Blow the Man Down. It's a like a fishing port town kind of murder cover up type of thing where the whole town has its secrets, and they all slowly come out as triggered by an accidental murder. But what's really fun about this is that there is this narrator kind of vibe to these singing fishermen who sing sea shanties during the course of the film.
You got me hooked already. I want to watch this.
In real good harmony, and kind of give you a feeling setting to either what you just watched or what's about to happen. And they just kind of cut in, and they do, and the lead singer, he's probably, I don't know, 70 years old or something, like this old seaman, and he breaks the fourth wall a few times, just visually, when he looks at
Shakespearean in a way. Then
yeah, it almost is. But so I think it's a brilliant film, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. And I would recommend it to anybody.
My number 8 is The King of Staten Island.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's a great little. It stars Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live, and it's sort of his story. Most people know that his dad died in 9/11, and it's sort of his story of how he got along with his stepdad, and who was also a firefighter, and he learned more about his own father through his interaction with the fire department in New York after his father's death. And it's moving, but it's also kind of, it's really funny because he is playing sort of a version of himself. So it's got some of that really biting, sarcastic humor that he brings to his stand-up and Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. So I don't know if he will be able to translate this into a movie career with other movies. I don't know if this is just a really good story that he could attach himself to, or because he definitely shows a lot of talent here. I'd like to see him in other things.
My number 8 is I believe it's a Netflix original called The Midnight Sky. It's a post-apocalypse kind of climate change disaster kind of movie. And it takes place on Earth. It takes place out in space. The visuals are stunning. The take on what we have done to this Earth is very forward-looking, as far as what we might end up doing, and what the world might end up doing to try to save itself, or the human race, I should say. It's your classic, we're going to send a ship out to try to find a new place for us to live because we've totally fucked this planet.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, and they're on their way back. George Clooney, who I normally really don't get into very much.
Really? I like his work, but...
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. There's a child actress who, I don't want to give too much away because this isn't one of our reviews, but child actress who just does a fantastic job, whose face is speaks for itself. Her facial expressions and just the warmth between the two characters and the twist that I saw coming. Most people probably see coming. If you don't, then it'll add just that much more to the enjoyment. But again, a great movie. Great. It's a feel-good movie, even though it's an apocalyptic kind of movie.
Next one. This is not a 2020 film, but I saw it for the first time, and it's not a hard film to find, but it's not really in the public eye, and so I feel more people need to see it. It's called Tokyo Tribe, and basically it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody else aside from me has seen the 1970s film The Warriors.
Yes.
Okay.
Warriors come out to play. Hey.
You have to do that.
the first time.
I would slam 2 beer bottles together, but one of them still has beer in it, so that's going to end horribly.
Okay.
But basically, it's kind of like Warriors in that there are these kind of like themed gangs or like, associations of various types of people who have turned themselves into gangs as a matter of survival. And they're all like teens and early 20-somethings. But now somebody's coming along and doing their best to like wipe the gangs off the face of the earth. And now the gangs have to gather together and unite to actually fight off of this presence. And there is a great scene where all the gangs gather together, and it's like it's a mixture of teen gang film, hip hop show. Like when the gangs all gather together, they're actually doing it and making a hip hop song as they go along. So it's kind of a musical. The fight scenes in it are
That sounds really interesting.
this is the film this would go really well for us on a Grindhouse level.
Let's do this.
Because it's wonderfully cheesy. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's just, it's a lot of fun. It's Japanese filmmaking at its best and worst, and for that I love it to death.
Beautiful.
Borat's subsequent movie film.
I haven't seen it except for that one scene with Giuliani, which scarred me for fucking life.
Right. So it's not going to be for everybody. It's extremely, in your face.
It's niche humor, man.
It is. But, I mean, it's mainstream to the extent that, people who love it. And it's hilarious. Some of the stunts he pulls in this movie are amazing. But the thing that really elevates this film above the first one, I think, is the relationship between him and his daughter.
Uh-huh.
It's super funny. I mean, she swallows so they go to a cupcake shop, and she eats a cupcake with a little baby, plastic baby on it, and swallows that, and then so he takes her to an abortion clinic, and he says, "I put a baby in my daughter, and I need you to get it out."
You could have warned me you were going to say that before I started drinking this beer, you bastard.
I didn't put this on my list because I hate the Borat character, but damn, this movie's funny.
It is so funny. I have not laughed this hard in years. And the humor it's perfectly, it's on that balancing act where just to the, where if you're watching it in the right frame of mind, it's not as offensive as it sounds when you describe it. But like I said, it's definitely not for everybody. But it's just so funny.
It pushes one's level of comfort to its brink.
But for a purpose. I mean, I think that Sacha Baron Cohen is trying to expose racism, sexism, homophobia, all kinds of stuff. But in doing so, he is becoming the thing that he is trying to expose. So there's a little level of discomfort there. But I think it works in the same way that like a Mel Brooks comedy worked in the 70s.
Yeah.
So again, it's not going to be for everybody. If you don't think you can handle this kind of stuff, maybe you want to stay away from it. But if you're willing to go for the ride, it will make you laugh harder than you probably have in years.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I would agree. Crazy ass uncomfortable movie.
Yes,
but really I think it's important that it came out exactly when it did. Yes. Because it really, I mean, a lot of people who went through the 9/11 viewed Giuliani as somebody who was
some sort of hero.
Yeah, keeping shit together. And kind of, back then I thought, wow, maybe he'd make a good president or something like that, and boy, oh boy, it really kind of set the stage for everything that came up with Giuliani. You know, it exposed him for the kind of person he really is. And then really kind of set the circus stage for Giuliani's antics throughout the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's this weird sort of balance between a kind of anarchic activism that you'd see like maybe Michael Moore doing with his documentaries, and strange comedy like Mel Brooks would have done like in the 70s. So it's just a really weird marriage of two styles. And it's like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, but for me, it just I can't deny that I laughed harder than I have in years. So
yeah, and something that only Sacha Baron Cohen could do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's the only person on earth that could have pulled this off.
Yes.
Number 6 is also Sacha Baron Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah.
Trial of the Chicago 7.
I still have to break down and see that one. Yeah.
I want to check that out too.
Yeah, it's 2020. I think this is probably one of the most important films of 2020. I think that it mirrored what happened this year. Again, the timing on this movie, the timing that this had was absolutely perfect for what's happening in the world today. When you watch it, it's almost as if you are, watching what happened in 2020 with George Floyd. But this is about, of course, the Chicago 7 back when the initial civil rights movement was occurring and the government was doing everything in its power to squash it then. And when you watch it and you think how much further we've gotten as far as the ability to protest these types of crimes against humanity that are being perpetrated by white supremacists and hidden white supremacy in the government to promote and continue slavery ad infinitum if they can. It's like I said, it's one of the most powerful films I've seen as far as social statement, and one of the most important films of 2020. Also, Sacha Baron Cohen, and again, something only he could have really.
Was he creative on the movie, or was he just a star of it?
I don't know, to be honest, but the statement the film makes, it's great, and it was inspiring to me. It's kind of where I kind of solidified my no bullshit future, and how I'm just not going to. I am absolutely at zero patience, zero tolerance, and zero silence when it comes to racists, homophobes, and bigots of any kind. It's just it was instrumental in my solidification of how I'm going to run my 2021.
Okay, so my number 5 is Spontaneous, which is a love story comedy between two teenage high school kids during a situation where teenagers are spontaneously combusting and exploding. It's sort of like taking the scene from Scanners where the heads explode, and kind of like taking it writ large, but playing it for comedy and also seriously. It's quite a different. The sense of humor is uniquely this movie's. I've never seen a movie that kind of finds the laughs exactly where this movie finds them, and finds the moving stuff where this movie finds it. It's a celebration of being different, It's so inventive that you never know what's. There's a genuine level of suspense there because you never know at any moment when someone's just going to explode, literally. Um,
Yeah.
and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It sort of belongs in that same category of movies like The Babysitter and Happy Death Day and Freaky, which is a movie that just almost
It
made my
definitely
top 10.
belongs in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we'll review it one day. I would definitely, if you want to feel good, if you want to see something different, it doesn't
It's
really end in a positive way, but they do find a positive
it,
wrinkle to it.
it falls into our category of feel good horror.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's gory. It doesn't hold back on the gore. So it's sort of like if John Hughes, David Cronenberg, and who else? It's just so amazing. As soon as it was over, I wanted to watch it again almost immediately. So
Nice.
spontaneous, check it out.
Okay, so I had to resist the urge to make a lot of the films in my list documentaries, so I picked one. And the documentary that I picked is J.R. Bob Dobbs and the Church of the Subgenius. It's on Amazon. Can't recommend it enough. I actually held off watching Zappa so that way I could make sure that this was on the list. But if you're not familiar with the Church of the Subgenius, they are a kind of a social group that exists to make fun of everything. Politics, religion, sex, drugs, rock and roll, cults, the occult, comic books, anything. They're having a great time just, basically satirizing everything. And they've been around since 1980 and they're still going strong. And it's about a history of the group and about the philosophy of the group and what happens when some people take a joke way too seriously. And how it is that something that starts off as a joke can turn into something that really helps to influence people's lives. Because when you look at they're the classic example of an underground success. Their stuff turned up on MTV. Their stuff turned up was an influence on the design of the Stop Making Sense film. Jonathan Demme was a huge fan of the Church of the Subgenius. The members of Devo were all members of the Church of the Subgenius. It's one of those where you sit there and think, you know what? Sometimes an idea is really crazy and insane, but maybe the world needs a crazy and insane idea. And this film captures that so well.
I love the idea of calling it the subgenius. So it's like, you don't have to feel bad if you don't quite reach genius level.
Yeah, the entire point is that sometimes you're gifted not so much with intelligence, but just pure blind luck. And God damn it, they roll with it. It's on Amazon. Seriously, if you need to feel better about the world and the fact that you can make a difference in it, watch this film. One of the last scenes in the film is one of the founders of the church, talking about opening up his mail. And one of the things that fell into his lap was a $10,000 check from somebody who had been inspired by the Church of the Subgenius and had gotten very successful as a result of it.
Wow.
So he said, okay, well, yeah. And he's just sitting there kind of in shock. I mean, he gets donations and such. You pay membership dues and they sell merch and books and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you know what I did? I took the money, I took the check, took it to the bank, deposited $1,000 in my account. And then a friend of mine who was going through a really bad run with cancer, I gave her the other $9,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know what? You learn, you grow, you become a better person over time if you listen to the voice that tells you to be a better person.
My number 5 is Dolomite Is My Name.
Yes.
Yeah, what a film.
Yeah.
That film was one of my great feel-good moments of this year. I got to admit, it was amazing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's about Rudy Ray Moore. And he is this guy who just knows in his heart he is destined for greatness and that he's going to do that through film. So he sets his mind to it. He gathers the people necessary and somehow the money that's necessary through loans and loan sharks and things like that. And he goddamn makes this fucking movie. And it spawned an entire era of blaxploitation grindhouse films. Grindhouse or go home, baby, because that's what Dolomite Is My Name is. Expertly done.
This is
By
one
Eddie
of the
Murphy.
best. This is one of the best Eddie Murphy performances I've ever seen. He's so good in this film.
No ego.
Yeah, and also the fact that he gave enough space to all the other people in the film, so that way that they could actually like have the room to breathe. It was. This one isn't in my top 10, and for God's sakes, I don't know why. But I mean, this one gets this is definitely one of those ones that should have been in my top 10. Thanks for pointing it out, because I just sat there and loved every minute of this goddamn movie. It was so good.
It's he has the the patience and everything to just step back a little bit and let the other characters breathe, and it just really makes the whole movie more fun. You know, it's a fun movie, even though there's genuine heartfelt emotion in it too. But it's really funny. It's probably the funniest movie he's made since.
I think that's what makes it a better. I think that's what makes it a better funny film. Much the same as a horror film or an action film works better when you actually have some investment in the characters. The humor is so much better when you're sitting there and you're laughing with the characters rather than laughing at them. And I think that's the reason I love this film as much as I did.
And this movie could have laughed at them, and it would have been actually kind of a Maps to the Stars situation, probably, if it had gone that route. But because it laughs with them, we're always on their side. It's so much more fun.
And to me, I think that was the big part, is that you're invested with them and you feel like you're taking the journey with them, and you just want to see them pull this thing off.
So my number 4 is Roger Waters' concert film, Us and Them.
I've seen clips from it, and wow, what a production.
The Wall was more epic, but this one is more, it's just as big. But
I saw that tour in San Antonio.
And it's a great concert film. It shows it's the entire show, and it's basically probably his ultimate statement as a creator, I think, so far.
It was an incredible experience being there. Let me put it that way.
The segment of him doing Pigs and then putting up all of the Donald Trump stuff, made me smile so hard.
Yeah, the best version of Pigs is actually the version he shot in Mexico, right around right before the election, or right before the inauguration. But this version is just great too. The songs they selected are great. I'm a Pink Floyd fanboy, so there was never any doubt that this would make my list. But even as a film, as a statement of his political views, it's probably the most crystalline version too.
Yeah. Trust me, if there's ever a Nine Inch Nails documentary, it's going to be in my top 10. I feel you on this.
Oh, yeah.
My number 4 was one of the last films that I saw in an actual theater this year. It was The Gentleman, which is a Guy Ritchie film. It was a return to form for Guy Ritchie, where he was talking about gangsters and criminal stuff and things like that. The casting in it is amazing. Matthew McConaughey plays a guy who runs a series of pot farms all across the UK. His second in command is played by Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy, who played Jax.
Pacific Rim.
Yep. And he is a gangster with OCD issues. Hugh Grant is in it he's hard to recognize as Hugh Grant, and he's clearly having fun playing this sleazy as fuck reporter who's trying to get it all over on everybody. And it has all of what I think of as the Guy Ritchie staples. It has multiple colliding plot lines. It has characters who are all very unique and very, very odd. And but this time, the timing, you get the feeling that over the years his timing has gotten better, his sense of editing has gotten better, and his sense of structure for the characters is better. I would actually love to see a sequel to this film.
When I first saw Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I kind of felt like he was this Tarantino wannabe. But now that he's established himself so well with so many, Snatch was so good.
Oh my God.
The Sherlock Holmes films, which I thought were great.
He's definitely developed his own voice, and I just really dig his flicks now.
I've
You know,
actually come to refer to like quick montage shots as being as being one of his moments and something that I borrow routinely when I'm sitting around and writing scripts.
I didn't realize that was a Guy Ritchie film, so now I need to watch that for sure.
It's going to be worth your time. It's also Colin Farrell is in this. Steals every scene he's in.
I believe it.
So good at this.
I've never seen Colin Farrell be bad in any movie.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
Colin Farrell kind of, he's obviously had his issues over the years, but I think part of it is that they pushed him into a leading man thing, and I don't think he was comfortable with it. But as a character actor, he will steal every moment of every scene that he's in. He's so good in this.
Minority Report.
Oh God, yeah, he was great in that. In Bruges, which I still think is one of the best films.
We have to review that. That's one of the best films I've ever seen.
For me, is Color Out of Space.
Oh, good. We get to have some fun with this.
Okay, and that's Dave's number.
That was my number 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Is it on yours? Dan?
Yeah.
It's not actually on my list, although it's very close.
Yeah, the only thing that actually drug down this film on my list of things from it being higher was Nick Cage's performance, because that was the thing that always made me go, oh look, it's Nick Cage, and it kind of took me out of the film. Everything else about this film is holy shit amazing.
Yeah.
Richard Stanley's direction, the acting of everybody else in it, the way that it's written is absolutely brilliant. I'm walking all over the film that John actually said. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No. It's on both of our lists. Yeah, for me, I think you hit the nail on the head there. So, I for a long time, for many, many years, I refused to see any Nick Cage movies or anything because I just thought he was not worthless, but he was over he had overstayed his welcome.
He really
Hollywood.
stumbled into self-parody.
Yeah. But in this film in particular, I just think he seemed distracted. Like, for example, they very frequently, of course, as everyone knows, they shoot films out of sequence so they can use sets and things like that. And it just seems like his continuity in what scene they were filming at the time didn't coincide with the emotion that his character should have been displaying at that time.
I'm a huge admirer of Richard Stanley's bravery, but I will say that probably because he has only directed a few movies over many years, that maybe that is a Richard Stanley problem, or I don't know exactly what the decision
It's a combination of a Richard Stanley problem after the collapse and all of the issues and the stress that went hand in hand with the Island of Dr. Moreau. I would have walked away from Hollywood with my middle finger extended too.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of documentary work, and I think that it shows in here, but Stanley has always had a great vision for what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. He knows what angle to put something to make things look normal, but just a little bit off. Yeah, and also his sense of lighting is, there are very few directors who do it as well as he does.
And I will say that if I'm directing Nicolas Cage in a movie, I probably would go for the Nicolas Cage moments anyway, because how can you have Jack Nicholson on a set and not go for those Jack Nicholson moments? So I can see looking for the moments when you could kind of inject that in there.
But I don't know. I mean, like, I compare it with The Departed, where The Departed has so many big name actors in there, but it's a Martin Scorsese film, and so he was able to get everybody to fit their spaces, including Jack Nicholson. Like, I forgot that I was watching actors. Like, I love Matt Damon, I love him in interviews and everything else. I stood up and rejoiced when his character died in The Departed, which to me is great filmmaking, because I forgot who the actors were and lost myself in this. This is the inverse of that. Mm-hmm. I'm watching all the other actors. They're in their space. They're holding it. They're doing really, really well. And in walks Nick Cage, and he might just walk in and go, I'm going to fuck up the whole scene.
Yeah.
Which is why it's my number 7 and not my number 3.
I think that's the slight reason why it never made my top 10. Although, I mean, it's an amazing film. It's probably the most intense horror movie of its kind since The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it captures, I thought they did a really good job converting Lovecraft into film. I think Stanley is probably the only one who can do it properly after seeing Color Out of Space. I just don't know. You just can't take a Lovecraft story and convert it into a film, because the stories are not written to make that easy by any form of the word. And I think that he did a great job. I'm trying to explore who I think would have done a better job than Cage, who I might have cast instead. But
And I want to say I don't think Cage's performance is wholly bad. There's a lot of scenes
no,
that are some of his best moments in his career, but there's
But there's
just so
moments
many
in there
that
that
are
are
out
really
of
jarring.
scope.
They don't feel like they're in the right place.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I will say also that the movie feels somewhat a little bit dangerous in almost a grindhouse way, because I never knew exactly what was gonna, like, any character could have died at any moment. And
I don't think that I have been moved by any scene in a horror movie quite as much as the scene where the boy and his mother had been meshed together, and
Yeah.
they
yeah,
were
it's
the
the
boy
reason
was
why I
screaming.
won't watch it again for many years,
The
even though I
boy,
liked it.
yeah, the boy is like screaming out of her back in pain and agony,
Yeah.
and just that whole thing was just so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
It really kind of captured the horror that Lovecraft was able to convey at that time, because people were not desensitized back then.
My number three is a Disney Pixar, I think. Onward. Onward is about a guy who brings his father halfway back from the dead,
Mm.
a walking a pair of legs, and he teams up with his brother, who's a D&D fanatic, um, to go on this quest to kind of bring his father back completely, so that they can spend a perfect day with him, kind of thing. And by the end, it's very moving, but it's also extremely funny. It's probably one of the best Pixar movies I've seen in a long time. And just the D&D aspect of it kind of just drew me in more. And there's actually dragons in the movie,
Yay.
so
I
it
love
works on a fan level, but it also has the emotional equivalent.
Yeah, I loved it. It was very moving for me. I'm not going to say it was triggering, because it wasn't. It was so thoughtful that it was moving.
Healing, or at
What?
least healing, or at least
Yeah,
moving in that direction.
it almost did have a slight healing effect as well. Had me in tears several times,
Me too. Although
and
obviously with less investment than you have, but
but well, tears are tears.
yeah.
But emotions ran very high during that film, and I want to watch it again and again. But I have to let my emotion meter of that context lower a little bit more
You need to
before I
prep
watch
a
it.
little bit for it.
Yeah, yeah. My number three is Babysitter Killer Queen.
Yay.
Uh, yep. Anybody else have that? I mean,
Yep.
Dave, you did, but Dan, was it on
No,
your list?
it's not on
Okay,
mine.
so we can talk about it. Go ahead, Dave. I'll let you start off.
It's just fun, and it captures, the first film captured that feeling of being of just a pre-adolescent and just dipping your toe into like the feelings of what it might be like to be an adult. And Killer Queen is all about the idea of stepping into adolescence, and now you're in a swirl of hormones and you want everything, but you have no idea of how to get it. And it's just there's a wonderful plot twist in it. There's a whole bunch of great things going on, and yeah, front to back, this was a film that just made me smile all the way through it.
It's a
Um,
feel-good horror.
Yeah,
It
totally
falls
worked on that level.
right into that list, which I think that we need to compile.
number three, Dave.
Number three for me is Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yes, that was my number seven. It's
That was
John's.
my number seven as well. So now we
Yeah,
talk about it.
Yeah, that
yeah.
that film, okay, it was everything we needed at this moment.
Mhm.
It was warm. It introduced two characters that we love a great deal, and then also gave us two other characters that, please do another sequel with their daughters, because Jesus, they were so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but it's
love
about,
the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead, man. You're good.
As I say, I love the wrinkle that the daughters were, their appreciation of music was leading them to go time traveling to find the ultimate band to back up their fathers, and it's
Yep.
sort of the whole movie is sort of an appreciation of appreciators.
Yeah. It's about the idea of sitting around and saying that loving something in and of itself is totally worth doing. You don't necessarily have to be, you can sit there and just be a fan and also maybe have a hand in creating, but Bill and Ted's love of music, despite the fact that they are a little dodgy at it, created two kids who helped save the fucking world. So,
Yeah. And it just solidifies the idea that music will eventually save the planet. Right?
I am totally good with that idea.
I'm fine with that too.
Oh, my number 2 is Guns Akimbo.
Yay!
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
That film has such a great sense of humor about making fun of gun culture and video games and the violence that we consider in our society. Also, Daniel Radcliffe just walks through and steals every scene, and Samara Weaving actually manages to, and she's been in so many of the films this year, but Samara Weaving basically walks in and, as usual, steals every scene that she's in.
Yep. It's also another example of Daniel Radcliffe just going balls to the wall with a strange choice.
Oh no! I mean, I'm with you guys on that. I felt it was one of the most exciting things that I've seen in a long time. Exciting, fun, gave me the same kind of feeling as Mayhem.
Yeah.
But wow, it just really, there were just so many things came together for this film, as far as action and of course my true love, Samara Weaving, and Daniel Radcliffe, who is very quickly becoming one of my favorite actors ever. The story, it's just so bizarre. There's just so much to it. It's such a big film that it had to sit really high on my list.
Is Freaky.
Excellent film.
I loved the shit out of this film. Again, it captures that feeling of being an outsider. It also, you have to give mad respect to the actors involved for being able to sit there and spend the time learning how to move like the other person and writing up the backgrounds to the characters. And also, the scenes and the sequences in there, some of the most creative kills ever. There's a tennis racket involved, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember. Was there a circular saw? I feel like
now don't give too much away, because I haven't seen this yet.
Okay.
Let's not do this as a spoiler list.
Okay, it's a gory
movie.
I'm gonna watch it today.
This one is definitely in that realm of bordering on horror comedy in spots. Because wow.
Well, it's from the maker of Happy Death Day, so it definitely has that same sort of tone.
I was really surprised to find out that the guy who did Happy Death Day and this is also the son of Michael Landon.
I didn't know that until you told me, but that makes that makes it even better.
He was
the Little House on the Prairie guy gave birth to a child who would make these a combination of feel good and just these intense horror movies. He's kind of marrying the two styles together.
Yeah, he was on the last, or maybe the one just prior to that episode of one of my favorite horror podcasts, Colors of the Dark. Totally worth checking out, and it's a great way to learn more about horror films.
Is that podcast related to Giallo films in any way? Because it's kind of named after a famous Giallo film.
Oh no, they took the name from that. They're Giallo fans, but basically the idea is that their podcast, they start off every podcast with multiple. They talk about what they've been watching lately. Mm-hmm. And I have learned so many films that I had no idea ever existed as a result of this. Both of the people who run it are filmmakers, and they also teach at the UCLA and USC film schools.
Okay.
So
I think that the only mistake with Freaky, and I haven't seen it yet, is that it's only available for rent for $19.99 and not available to purchase.
Give it
Well, it's a
about
theatrical. It's a theatrical at home release, so that's what they kind of do with that right now.
yeah, give it another couple
I
of
don't
months,
know.
it'll be out.
Most of the ones that I've seen come out have been available for purchase as well.
Okay.
But
I
I hesitate to rent for $19.99.
That one's worth it. Weathering with You, an anime that's about a girl who can control the weather, and it's a very languidly paced movie. It's sort of in that Miyazaki. I don't know if I'm saying it's not Miyazaki style of like Kiki's Delivery Service and things like that, where it really takes you into Japan and Tokyo and kind of lets you sit there and see how bad the weather is. And basically, they're being bombarded by storms every day, and it never stops. And this girl comes along who can change the weather and make the sun come out, but it comes at a price. It actually affects her health. And this boy who falls in love with her is actually trying to save her. And there's the tension there of, does she help everybody else by bringing the sunshine out, or does she live her own life and let the rain come and just be, and go off with this boy. So it's a very interesting, it's a beautiful movie. It's very moving, and it's animated in the best way you can. I haven't seen animation this beautiful in a long time. That's my favorite movie of the year.
Okay, I'm adding that one to my list. Starfish.
Whoop,
If
whoop,
you're if you're not familiar, it's basically a film about the girl experiencing the end of the world after a friend's funeral. And I have not seen a film this remarkably well shot, this remarkably well thought out, with the kind of feel that, I mean, you genuinely feel every emotion that she's having. You can feel every moment of darkness, every moment of tension. And then at the end, when she finally just gives in to the end of the world, I mean, the entire film is basically about the grieving process. And when she steps into the end of the world, it's her moment of acceptance. And it just shows. And it really just left me in tears at the absolute end. I thought it was a remarkably well put together film.
It's probably this generation's Donnie Darko if people would widen their view and actually allow themselves to watch it. It's not.
Yeah, I'm going to pimp this
Right.
film to anybody because it needs to be this kind of like quality of filmmaking. People need to see more of, because it has that kind of art house feel to it in terms of the way that it's shot and the way that it's lit and everything else, but it lacks the kind of art house pretension to it, and you are still absorbed in the story all the way through it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Number one is a tie.
Okay.
I absolutely could not differentiate my absolute
I just want to say that this is cheating, and that if I had known we could do a tie, I would have added other films. But okay, go ahead.
well, okay, no, this is a unique situation. And normally I would not do something like this, but I just could not. I knew that one of these two films had to be my number one, and I couldn't kick any of them down to number two. And so I had to go with Starfish and Spiral. I
Had its moments, yeah.
yeah.
Weirdly, you didn't seem to like it at first until we talked about it a little more.
Well, the more you watch a film and the more you absorb of a film, I think the more subtle emotion is touched. So where you might have been paying attention to the film in a certain way the first time you watched it, you experience the emotions that a more distant view of the film will give you. And then when you watch it again, it starts to touch on different emotions that you didn't feel in the first one. And both of these films hit emotions on almost every level for me. They were terrifying in a cosmic sense. They told a story about life. They gave you a perspective on things that you may not have had perspectives on before, or if you did, either focused your perception or diversified it. I was blown away by both. I cannot justify not giving each of them the #1 spot.